Okay, you guys, we're back. All of us think about gas prices and we think about traffic and we're sitting in it and we're getting angry because it's moving so slow. But we almost never think about what's pouring out of our tailpipes, that brown smoke that goes straight into your lungs, which ends up in your brain as well. So the pollution that's coming out of your tailpipes isn't just bad for the planet. It's quietly beating up your energy, your sleep, and even how clearly you think. That's one of the things that we talk about a lot for Vita Health. We talk about sleep and we talk about brain fog, but we're going to talk about something completely different: how to make your car the solution instead of being part of the problem. But a quick note before we dive in: Dr. Abloh is out this week, but he will be back with us next week. So if you're missing his insights and his stories, don't worry. He'll be right back in the studio on the next show. But in the meantime, we have a really incredible guest who's working on a way to make cars that we already drive cleaner and more efficient. Joining me today is Dave Riggs, and he is the CEO of Wybridge Technologies. And Wybridge is a technology company that's based in Tucson, Arizona. And their mission is really simple. And I believe it's just so powerful. It's to create cutting edge technology that improves the lives of people through a cleaner environment. And what they're aiming to do is reduce environmental pollution by revolutionizing the internal combustion engine. Some of you may know it as something called ICE, which is on most of the cars we drive today, except for electric vehicles. And they're set out to help the engines burn fuel more efficiently with less waste coming out of the tailpipe. So David has a really long track record, and I can't go into everything that he's done, but he's worked in North America, Africa, and Asia, from healthcare to high resolution surgical imaging to mining and gaming. And now he's bringing that experience to cleaning up engines so that we can have better health, which we love to talk about on Feel Amazing Daily.
Hey, well, thanks for having me, and I hope to live up to that intro. I don't know who that guy is, but he sounds pretty impressive.
Well, I know you personally, and you are very impressive. The big picture before we actually get into this incredible device. Most people listening right now think about emissions maybe once a year or two when they go to the inspection station and they're holding their breath because they're like, am I really going to pass this test? And the rest of the time, they just start the car, get in it, drive, park, and end of story, except for the traffic. But the truth is that dirty air isn't just a climate story. It's a daily health story. The more junk in the air, the more inflammation we have, more coughing, more fatigue, more trouble sleeping. It gets into every cell in our body, especially if you live on a busy road or an industrial area. So, Dave, from your perspective, what do you think the average driver sitting in traffic right now cares about with respect to the emissions coming out of the tailpipe?
Well, I think you hit the nail on the head when you say that most people don't really think about the emissions that come out of their car until they have to renew their registration. But the amount of CO2 and NOx that are put into the air gets put into the air one car at a time. And here at Whitebridge, we really decided that's the way we ought to address it. Currently in the United States, there's about 286 million registered vehicles on the road. And that's not counting the 35 or 40 million cars that are municipals because they don't figure into the statistics. So the United States is uniquely positioned. When you consider that in all of Europe, there's only 280 million cars. And if you look at Canada, there's 26.8 million cars. So a little bit of an edge as far as reducing emissions in the United States could translate into eliminating the entire carbon footprint of the transportation industry in most countries. Canada, for example, has 26.8 million cars on the road. So if we can improve every car in the United States by 10%, we would eliminate the carbon footprint of the transportation industry in Canada. So that's why here in the United States, we're uniquely positioned to address this issue. And that's really what we've decided to try to do, is to focus on, first of all, the cars that are on the road and make each one of those cars as efficient as possible. Because as I previously stated, 10, 15% better would eliminate the carbon footprint of most countries.
So, Dave, what's the device that you're talking about? We talked about improvements, but what is it and what does it do?
It's a really unique approach. We take the existing facilities that are in every car now made in the world and just make them better. And as I said, our target is 15 to 20% better. And we're getting a little bit better results in our beta tests, but it enhances the ignition system in each car. And it does it a little bit differently in each car based on how each car is set from the companies that make them. So it's an external device that's connected to the battery and improves the entire ignition system, enhances the operation. And by doing so, that translates into a more efficient combustion, which means you're burning more of the fuel in a more efficient fashion, creating less waste in the process.
That's so interesting. So the product is called the Emission Zero Module or the EZM. And what you're saying is that increases the engine efficiency. So you have reduced emissions and then you also have cleaner air, obviously. And as I understand it, it increases the power of your vehicle as well. And it increases the miles per gallon. Can you elaborate on that?
Sure. So the basic internal combustion engine, the process for the four-stroke internal combustion engine, that hasn't changed since it's been invented, right? You compress a fuel mixture, add a spark or ignitions to that, and the rapid expansion of the gas forces the piston down, and that's what creates motion. So that basic physics model hasn't changed much. But what has changed is the fuel that we put in it, the complex mixture that we know as gasoline that we put into our cars at the fuel pump is a combination of a lot of elements that have been added to it. And it's those other elements create inefficiencies in combustion. So if you combust more of what's there, you become more efficient, and more efficient translates into better torque, horsepower, and miles per gallon. And so it just makes things more efficient by a percentage, and those percentage varies from manufacturer to manufacturer. If you're burning more of the fuel and you're not putting excess fuel into your exhaust system, then it's going to benefit the whole process.
So people are going to save big at the pump for one, but it's also cutting emissions that end up in the lung and the atmosphere. So it's really tied to our health. And people are probably wondering, why would you have this high tech on Feel Amazing Daily? And that's exactly the reason why, because the emissions that are polluting our air go directly into our lungs. And so that's why we wanted to have Dave on the show. Let's talk about a little bit more about miles per gallon. What can people expect to get out of their car when they put this device, which as I've seen it, Dave, it's a really cool device. It's very small. It's about the size of a tablet, a little bit thicker, but about the size of a small tablet, and it connects directly onto your battery. Is that right?
Yeah, you connect the EZM to the positive and negative poles of your battery. And it is a very easy installation. If you can screw in a light bulb, you can connect an EZM. It's not a complex situation. The thing that makes it unique is that it is truly an enhancement and not a modification. We're not modifying any systems within the car. As you know, cars have gotten extremely complex with the addition of big screens and GPS and Bluetooth within it and all kinds of stuff that, 10 years ago would have been science fiction. But that causes a lot of stress on the entire electrical system. And by enhancing that system and bringing it up to standard, we create an environment for the entire process to become better. Everybody wants to help the environment. You can pass 10 people down the street and ask them, hey, do you want to do something for the environment? And everyone's going to say yes, but nobody really knows how they can do it, right? Do I donate to some, environmental agency or environmental group, and then I have to worry about where the money went and how it was spent? Here, each individual can translate their concern for the environment into actual results. And that's really the runway that we're offering here with the advent of the EZM. Everybody can do something for the environment. They just translate their concern into positive results.
Dave, this is just amazing. I want to bring this back to health because we know we can't fix everything with one swoop. You can't shut every single car down to clear the air or the smokestack from the pollution that comes from different areas. But I do believe with the data that you have, and I've seen the data, it looks really good, that people can help by putting something like this. Maybe there's other things out there I haven't heard of that really helps cut down on that pollution. And at For Vita Health, we talk about these four biological keys. One of them is sleep, the second is movement, the third is clarity, and then mood. Those are all levers that help people feel better every single day. And so, one of the products that we have that I think goes along with what you're doing is for great sleep. And if you're not sleeping well, your mood changes, your focus disappears, your metabolism even suffers, your brain suffers. And so people can do a lot of things daily to help them with their sleep, but one of them is incorporating for great sleep. So I recommend this product. I use it. I believe you tried it. Have you tried for great sleep, Dave? I believe you have.
Oh, yes, absolutely. And I think more importantly, my wife is using it, which means I sleep.
That's awesome. I'm glad she's getting the benefit of it. People don't typically read the ingredients, but I like to talk about them because one of them is GABA and the other is magnesium and also a theanine. All three of these ingredients help you relax. They help to quiet the mental noise and support a healthy sleep rhythm. I'm sure your wife can be a testimony to say, I wake up and I'm not groggy the next morning as she gets up for the really early morning days of being a teacher. So Forlicand is found at 4vitahealth.com. That's the number 4vitahealth.com. I would love for people to try it to get the most out of their sleep. So let's talk a little bit more then about the EZM. Dave, how long did it take you to develop this product? And can you give us a little bit of a secret behind the technology? I know it's patented, but if you could provide some more details, that would be great.
Yeah, as with most products that come to market, development process of this started probably 15 years ago. The EZM originally started out as a battery enhancement to solve a simple problem. And that was that batteries wear out at an alarming rate. I'll give you an idea that here in the United States, 126 million replacement batteries were sold in 2024. And that means that just simple math brings us to 2.7 years average life of a battery. So when the technology was first developed, it was developed in order to extend the life of a battery. And it does that. With 15 years ago, we have batteries in cars for 15 years without replacement, as opposed to the 2.7 years that on average a battery lasts a car here in the United States. So that was very effective. And then we delve into it a little bit more to see exactly how it worked. And finding out how it worked, we noticed some ancillary benefits. We decided we would check the emissions of the car. That was going down. We took the cars out on the road, noticed we were getting better gas mileage, and the car just seemed to run better. Internal testing was one thing, but we always wondered, can this be duplicated? Because in science, that's the key. Can your results be duplicatable? And if they are, then you've got a real product. So we took this to a propulsion lab in Dearborn, Michigan, in the heart of automobile manufacturing, to a lab that does this for Ford, GM, and others. And we handed it to them and said, hey, listen, just tell us what you can tell us. We didn't really give them any idea of what the product did other than how it is installed and what we had theorized. And they came back and independent lab verified all the claims that we made because we had accumulated a lot of data, over 2,000 tests on 60 different vehicles. And so we just basically took it where the science, would allow us to go and what we could verify. So when we make the claims that you'll get better gas mileage, the emissions are reduced, and torque and horsepower go up, it's backed by independent studies and independent labs that verify it. So we're very confident when we say these things. And the only thing that varies is from manufacturer to manufacturer. The results vary by anywhere from 3 to 5%. But as a rule, you're going to get 10 to 15% better gas mileage. Your torque and horsepower is going to increase by 10%. and emissions are definitely going to drop. So very confident in it, and we're very happy with our results.
Wow, that is just amazing. So I had the opportunity to take a sneak peek and look at some of the data that you just talked about. And one of the engines that was tested, I believe, was called the Hellcat engine.
The
Can you
Heliphant.
the Hellcat? So it's different than Hellcat. A Hellcat is a different engine than Hellcat.
The Hell motor is made by Dodge, and the Heliphant is just a modification on the Hellcat platform.
But both of those engines have a lot of power already, right? Aren't they used in big trucks and maybe diesel trucks or something? Can you talk about how difficult it would be to increase the power by, I think it said 10%?
So the car guys out there are probably pulling their hair up by the roots, but basically, the Hellfant motor puts out about 770 horsepower, and we were able to increase that by about 65 horsepower just by adding the EZM. And so the application for those cars for that motor ranges from a pickup truck to the Challenger and Charger and down the performance line of Dodge. But it was very interesting because our claim is always we make everything better, right? We did this with the Subaru partially zero emissions cup. So PZE, it's a tag that they put on. It's the cleanest running car that's sold in America. And so we took that car, tested it, and we improved its emissions, gas mileage, and performance. So the same thing happened with the Heliphant motor. They say this is the most high performance, most technically advanced engine that they make. We just made it a little bit better. And to give you an idea, in order to increase horsepower on that car by 5 horsepower, you have to spend $2,500 to $5,000 on an exhaust system for it, and basically rework a whole lot of the car to do it. Ours is just a bolt-on product, and that's what got everybody excited in the propulsion lab, is that it was such an easy thing to do.
That's clearly an amazing feat that you all have accomplished. I know your science is great, your team is great. Let's break here and talk about a little bit about brain fog, which pollution again going to our lungs, getting into our brains. And one of the products that we sell is called For Brain Fog, and it can be found at forvitahealth.com. That's the number 4 vitahealth.com. We all want mental clarity. We want to increase our ability to think, to focus, to remember, just to really get through the day without feeling like our brain is in this fog. So we named the product very well, I think, because it does help support clearing brain fog. And I think almost everybody experiences brain fog at some point. Dave, do you ever have that?
Oh, yeah, I am a human being, and I have experienced that.
We need to send you some for brain fog. I'll get that done. But combines ingredients like Bacopa monnieri, which actually is one of my favorite flowers because it's so beautiful. But it also has other nutrients like acetyl L-carnitine and nutrients that support memory and processing speed and overall brain health. So we encourage people to take a look at it. If you're experiencing brain fog, check it out. See if it helps. We have a 60-day full money back guarantee on all of our products. So if you try it and it doesn't work for you, we are happy to refund your money and get that to you very quickly with no questions asked. So let's go back to Wybridge again. Let's talk about something very important that you have coming up. It's called the Kickstarter campaign. Can you go through what that is?
Yeah, we're very excited about that because it gives us a lot of input from the consumer base, right? Not all promotional hype. It really gives us an idea of where our product lies in the consumer's mind. But it's a crowdfunding platform that you offer for purchase or to reserve the right to purchase the EZM. And I guess it's kickstarter.com. You can find us there, or you can go to getezm.com. But it just allows us to get out to the public on a pre-market basis, pre-manufacturing basis, so that we have an idea of what the appetite for this product is going to be, how we can fulfill that appetite, and then get feedback from people that say, hey, listen, we like it. We see your studies. We see your data. Can you do this also? Or would it be possible? And so it gives us an opportunity to fine tune our final product development and get it out to the people who understand it and want it and can utilize it for the benefit of not only themselves, but obviously the entire environment.
Great. So as we wrap, there are a few things that I want to talk about. Number one, your car doesn't have to be a source of pollution. If you want better miles per gallon, spending less at the pump, which I love, and I'm so happy that you put one of these on my car because I have seen a huge increase in the miles per gallon. And this is an older car that I love, and I can't get rid of it because it belonged to my sister, but she passed away. And so it's a 1970-ish Forerunner, and the emissions on it were going bad. And so I put this on the car, and I'm telling you, I don't smell that smoke anymore. I can't measure the power increases on it, but I do know that when I'm going up a hill, I can feel more power. So love that. And the other thing, Dave, that I love about it is that it doesn't void any warranty. So we put them on our new trucks. It doesn't void the warranty because it's an external device. And I want to encourage people to go to getezm.com and be the first 100 people, and you get 50% off the retail price. So think about this as well. Your body and your brain are living in the same world, and we need to support those as well. And that's why we talk about our products at forvitahealth.com. That's the number 4, vitahealth.com. And look for our products like for great sleep and for brain fog as perhaps your starting point to get started on your health journey. And as we always like to say, we hope everyone feels amazing daily, and we'll see you next time.
This program is for educational and informational purposes only and is not medical advice. Consult a healthcare provider before adding supplements to your diet. Educational statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. The products discussed are not intended to diagnose, treat, educational, or prevent any disease.
Welcome to Feel Amazing Daily, the show that transforms your everyday routine into a powerhouse of positivity and peak performance.
This program is for
I'm
educational
Laura Smith, and for the next half hour, we'll be diving into the science-backed strategies, mindset shifts, and simple habits that successful people use to feel incredible every single day.
This program is for educational.
Welcoming now Dr. Keith Abloh, America's psychiatrist, and nutritional biochemist Dr. Catherine Munoz.
For educational
and now, Feel Amazing Daily.